Most coincidences are harmless. You think about an old friend, and a second later your phone rings, and it's them. We laugh it off. We call it luck. But every once in a while, a coincidence comes along that's so precise, so impossible, that luck stops being a good enough answer. I'm Sketch, and today I'm walking you through 5 real coincidences that should never have happened. 5 stories that get stranger with every detail. And by the time we reach the last one, I want you to ask yourself one simple question. Are these just random, or is something else going on? Let's start with 2 brothers who were never even supposed to meet. In 1940, 2 twin brothers were separated just weeks after birth. Adopted by different families, raised in different towns, they grew up never knowing the other one existed. 2 completely separate lives. And here's the first strange part. Both families, with no contact at all, gave their adopted son the exact same name. James. Both boys grew up as Jimmy. When the twins finally reunited at 39, the matches kept coming, and they would not stop. Both had married a woman named Linda. Both divorced. Both remarried. 2 women named Betty. Both had owned a boyhood dog, and both had named that dog Toy. Same cars, same hobbies, the same headaches at the same time of day. 2 strangers somehow living one identical life. Most coincidences are harmless. You think about an old friend, and a second later your phone rings, and it's them. We laugh it off. We call it luck, but every once in a while, a coincidence comes along that's so precise, so impossible, that luck stops being a good enough answer. Curiosity number 2 takes us out to sea. Back in 1898, a writer named Morgan Robertson published a short novel about the largest ship ever built. In the story, this ship is enormous, luxurious, and considered absolutely unsinkable. He gave it a name that today will give you chills. He called it the Titan. 14 years later, in 1912, a real ship set sail, the largest ever built, luxurious, considered unsinkable. Its name, the Titanic. Both ships struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic in April at night, traveling near full speed, and both carried far too few lifeboats, costing thousands of lives. A novelist described that exact disaster in detail, more than a decade before it ever happened. 14 years later, in 1912, a real ship set sail, the largest ever built, luxurious, considered unsinkable. Its name, the Titanic. Both ships struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic in April at night, traveling near full speed, and both carried far too few lifeboats, costing thousands of lives. A novelist described that exact disaster in detail, more than a decade before it ever happened. Number 3 is a legend that's haunted small-town America for over a century. The story goes that a young man broke a woman's heart so badly that tragedy followed. In revenge, someone fired a single shot at him, and missed. The bullet flew right past him, buried itself deep in the trunk of a nearby tree, and there it stayed. The man walked away that day, certain he had cheated death. 20 years passed. The man had all but forgotten the day someone tried to take his life. Then, one afternoon, he decided to clear that very tree from his land. The bullet, still lodged inside the trunk after all those years, was finally set loose. And according to the legend, it found him at last, a shot fired 2 decades earlier that simply waited. Now, is it true? Almost certainly not. But this story refuses to die, and maybe that's the real coincidence. Curiosity number 4 is a real man named Franz Selak. And depending on how you look at it, he was either the unluckiest man alive or the luckiest. It started with a train that flew off the tracks into an icy river. He survived. Then a plane door that tore open in mid-flight. He survived that too. A bus crash, a car that burst into flames, then another. Accident after accident, year after year. And somehow, every single time, Frayne walked away. Most people would call that a lifetime of terrible luck, But Frayne saw it differently. He figured fate finally owed him one good day, and then in his 70s he bought a single lottery ticket and won a fortune. A man who survived a dozen disasters that should have ended him was handed the one piece of luck the rest of us only dream about. So, cursed or blessed? Even he was never quite sure. Our last coincidence is the strangest, because it's the kind of thing that could happen to you. A man started noticing one number sequence following him around. At first, it was nothing. A receipt, a clock, a phone number. Easy to ignore. But then it showed up on a license plate. Then another, then a third. The exact same numbers, appearing in places that had no connection to each other at all. Soon it was everywhere. Hotel rooms, street addresses, ticket stubs. Dates that actually mattered to him. The odds of seeing one specific sequence that many times by pure chance are astronomically small. He couldn't explain it. So was the universe trying to send him a message? Or was his own brain simply locking onto a pattern and quietly ignoring every single time the numbers didn't show up? So those are the 5. 2 brothers who lived one mirrored life, a book that wrote a real tragedy before it happened, a bullet that waited 20 years, a man that disasters simply couldn't kill, and a number that refused to leave one person alone. 5 stories. And not a single one of them should have been possible. Here's the thing about coincidences, though. The strange part isn't that they happen. The strange part is how often they happen. There is a real answer, of course. We live in a world of billions of people and trillions of tiny moments. So even 1 in a million events are happening, constantly, somewhere. And our brains are pattern machines. We remember the one incredible hit, and we quietly forget the millions of misses. So maybe it's all just math. Maybe these are nothing more than the lucky few stories that survived out of an ocean of ordinary days. Or maybe, just maybe, reality is a little stranger than we like to admit. I'll let you decide that one. I'm Sketch. If even one of these stories gave you chills, trust me, the next one is worse. So stick around. I'm not done showing you things that shouldn't be real.